triple expansion steam engine that needs some attention. Part 8. Valve timing. Starting with the high pressure cylinder, the first job is to free off the eccentric sheave, and the rest of the episode is very fiddly. I have my medication on the bench just in case, and in preparation for what's to come, I thought I would remove this. This is a compressed air inlet that I made, and it fits on this massive pipe thread. I'm going to remove all of these threads. Where I've removed the large, ugly air connection that I made was fitted an even larger, uglier tap, just about as bad as the displacement lubricator. All these parts will be put in my box of extremely ugly steam fittings. What I'm about to do is have a look at the valve timing and see whether I can adjust it. It isn't actually a million miles away, but it's not right. After using a small spanner to slacken off the 7BA nuts, I removed them with the nut spinner. And I'm wondering how difficult it's going to be to remove this steam chest cover. First of all, I'll just refit this stud that came out. Pliers are not a good idea for this, you need to use lock nuts, but I'm only just putting it back in the hole gently. To my surprise, the steam chest cover was very easy to remove, and now you can see inside it. Not unsurprisingly, there is a slide valve in there. As I rotate the crankshaft, the slide valve moves up and down over the ports, and with the reversing gear at one end it's not too bad, but when I turn the handle to wind the reversing gear to the other end, it's nowhere near. I need to change the position of the eccentric sheave. From the last episode, this one, as you can see, is quite loose and very adjustable, and when I adjust it, the valve moves to the correct position with this eccentric. The one I need to adjust to make the engine work is the one at the rear, and unfortunately, to get at this inner eccentric sheave, I had to take off the eccentric strap. And once again, can you believe it, this eccentric sheave is stuck to the crankshaft using some sort of Loctite compound. Here, as previously, I'm using my small Proxon blowtorch to warm up the area and destroy the Loctite bond. Normally these eccentrics are machined as pairs, and on a triple expansion engine, the centre pair of eccentrics have a different offset. I do like the idea of making each individual eccentric sheave adjustable. What I'm going to do for the inner eccentric sheave, where the grub screws are buried underneath the eccentric strap, is just use one and drill a hole in the eccentric strap so I can get an Allen key in there to adjust the eccentric without removing the strap. I think it's time to let you have a last look at these hideous fittings before I put them into the box. Time now to look at the valve timing. I've moved the expansion link using the reversing lever to one end. I'm now rotating the crankshaft and the valve position is not right. What I'm going to do is set the valve in the middle of the threaded part as a starting point. First, after removing the threaded pin that goes through the die block, I have to remove the die block without dropping it on the floor. I had to poke it out with one end of my scriber and then use the other end to lift it off the expansion link. And don't forget, everything in this area is very oily, which doesn't help matters. This video is running in real time and I really struggled to get this die block out. In the end, I poked it through the expansion link with my scriber and caught it in my hand. Then I had to turn the reversing wheel to the other end and rotate the crankshaft so I could get at the valve fork. I rotated the valve fork, which in turn rotated the valve rod and screwed it further into the drive block. And in this clip I'm retightening the special bolt, which has a parallel shank and goes through the die block, into the other side of the valve fork, which is threaded 7BA. In this clip you can see that the driving block for the slide valve is just about midway on the thread of the valve spindle. This probably will not be the final position, but it's a starting point. And indeed, when I wind the handle to the other end, moving the expansion link across, there's insufficient valve travel over the bottom port. So here we go again. Remove the die block, this time it came out a lot easier. Wind the expansion link to the other end, rotate the valve fork, replace the die block, and then put the bolt back through the middle. This setting is still not right. I cannot wind the expansion link to its full travel. You may be wondering, well, why does the die block not go right to the end? The answer is simple. because the valve is hitting the top of the steam chest, and if the valve can't go any further, the die block can't either. What I haven't shown at this stage was the fact I was also adjusting the eccentric. This particular episode is just to get a feel of the valve timing. I'm not going to set the valve timing properly like this. I mean, look how much slop there is in the reversing arm. It's ridiculous. Parts of this engine are not made properly, and to make matters worse, it hasn't been assembled correctly either. In the fullness of time, when I start the main rebuild series, I'll put all these problems right. And I'm actually looking forward to rebushing the mountings for the reversing shaft so that it doesn't wobble about like you see here. It's pointless taking this episode any further. I just wanted to show you inside the steam chest and the problems with the valve gear, and bear in mind this valve gear is one of 3 sets on the engine. For the time being, I'm replacing the steam chest cover with just a couple of nuts, and I think in the next episode I'm going to modify the steam inlet fitting. I have a feeling that this job is going to be quite tricky to complete, and to give myself a head start, so to speak, here's a picture of the bench after I banged my head on it several times. That's it for this episode. I'd just like to say, as I always do, stay healthy, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my main Steam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.